prayers to pat ourselves on the back and say, I'm a good boy, I got my rules on. But to very gently, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Cry out from our hearts very gently. Listen to the rhythm of the heart. Listen to the tapping of the tuning fork going on in the heart, so we can tune with Christ in peace. We must strive for peace at every moment, not let ourselves be chaotic, not let ourselves be dragged away with the waves of the world, for the anger of the political scene and social media and celebrity gossip or whatever garbage else is out there, or people hating other schools about their football team or whatever stupidity else exists in the world. Because it is a grave sin of stupidity to have hatred and peace and rancor with others. It clearly is. We must try to be at peace. That doesn't mean, as I said in the sermon about St. Nicholas the other day, that we're doormats. By no means. The Christians were very strong, and I can assure you Elder Ephraim was very strong, and could be. I know a dear friend of mine who visited one time the monastery for the first time many years ago. And it's a very difficult way of life. Elder Ephraim came from really one of the strictest forms of Athelite monasticism that there is. But he told his friend, another monk, after watching it for a few days, now I know how you can do this. Because you have him. He's a child. He's at peace all the time. And he tells you extremely strict things, but you want to do it because he loved you. And he does love you. He loves us now. I know when I went to him the first time, I was in a very painful part in life. And I just asked him about a prayer rule. And he said, I've taken it to heart to this day. He said many things I was thinking about this morning that I do that were influenced by him and his monks that I've never stopped doing, despite the fact that I go to other people. My spiritual father, by the way, comes from a monastery that was one of the ones he restored. Elder Ephraim restored 4 monasteries on Mount Athos, started 18 monasteries in the United States and many in Greece, and thousands and thousands and thousands of spiritual children throughout the world. He had a great impact, despite the fact that he just stayed to himself and prayed very quietly. That was his ministry. And went out to see the poor occasionally too. He liked to find the poor and give them things. He felt deprived if he didn't have that. The Elder Ephraim told me, I said, well, he says, no rule, ceaselessly, always. This is being translated for him, by the way. He didn't speak English. He did come to me one time on a path and say, hello, Father, which I was greatly amazed by because he couldn't speak English very much. And so he just started like a child, almost jumping out of his chair, telling me, and his various phrases on and on and on. About 20 of them to the Mother of God. He loved her very much. Very much. But constantly, Lord Jesus Christ of mercy. Constant. The second time I went to him, he didn't tell me to say anything. He just said, come over here. He put my head on his knee, put his epitchkeel, and read some long prayer in Greek. The monk translated for me later what he had said. And I can promise you I was flying for the next month. Passion was not an issue. I wanted another one. He also told me to do some things somebody else had told me. He could have had no way of knowing that person said that except for God. He made St. Nicholas a big part of my life. I didn't add that to the sermon the other day. He did. He told me to go down into the altar at St. Nicholas Church there and to pray before the altar for a while. He didn't let people go into his altar. So it was a big deal. He didn't let people enter his altars. Those were his, at the churches. So for him to tell me to go in there was a huge deal. A huge, huge deal. And I could go on and on. You know people here who were converted by him, by his peace. And I'm going to tell on one of them because one of them would tell you himself. Many of you know Ed Reif. Ed Reif was a devout Roman Catholic, very strict Roman Catholic. And one day when Elder Ephraim started coming to the United States many years ago because of the health issues, well, people started flocking to him because, as he said, the Greek church in this country, well, the Orthodox church in this country, had become greatly weakened. The piety was gone. People don't prepare for communion. People go to communion with very serious and grave sins and think nothing of it. He couldn't tolerate this. The piety had been lost, the Orthodox piety of the old world. And he wanted to bring it back. But somehow, as he was in the Pittsburgh area, Ed ended up with his wife in this living room with Elder Ephraim. So Ed says to himself, I'm going to show this guy. What's this guy know? I'll tell about arguing with Roman Catholic type arguments. And the elder just sat there and smiled at him. like a little child the whole time, looking right into him. And he says a couple of things in Greek. And so Ed asked the priest that was standing there with him, what did he say? He said, the elder can see your soul. And he began to tell him in great detail things about his life. Ed was baptized not long after that. But that didn't come from a place of arguing and trying to debate people into Christianity. Not whatsoever. It came from a place of love, and a place of peace, and a place of gentleness. So that's the spirit that he had, that I would encourage you to have as well. That Gregory Palamas takes great lengths in this homily to explain that leprosy, the real leprosy, which is grotesque, is a disease of our souls. That's the one that we should be staying outside the camp and hiding from people with, because it's unbearable to look at. And yet we continue with it. We talk about people like it's going to fix them. We beat others like it's going to fix them. We deride them. We deride our clergy. We deride bishops on the internet, God forbid. The elders don't like that, by the way, at the church. It's dangerous. So we must strive to have peace in our hearts, as St. Seraphim said. I had a lot of stories as we tell St. Seraphim said about that too. Many saints who bore derision. And I'll share just one of them since I prepared it. St. Ephrem, the patron of Elder Ephrem. That's why I'll use that one. One day, he told his disciple to go get the food for them, and on the way back, the disciple drops the food on the ground or whatever. He comes back to St. Ephrem, very, very distressed. He lost his food, and St. Ephrem, the Syrian, who was famously peaceful, himself says, well, we'll go to the food since the food didn't come to us. He didn't deride him. He got up, went there to the desert, picked the food up off the ground, and ate it. Because it had been given to him by God. And he was not going to make that disciple feel poorly about it. That's beautiful. Now don't take this like that fathers can't say something very strict and still be at peace. Oh, they can. Very firmly, and I've witnessed it myself. And I know many stories of him doing that with people as well. He was no doormat. I know of a particular story, I won't go into the details, where a patriarch came to visit him and told him to stop doing something that the monastery was doing, which is rather traditional, by the way, on the Holy Mountain. And he said, if you keep doing it, I'll chop your head off. Elder Ephrem smiled at him and said, may it be blessed. As he was always wont to do. So let us have that attitude in our own lives. Whatever comes to us, may it be blessed, may it be blessed. Thank you, God, for all the graces and mercies and healings you give in my life, that you've come to heal my soul from its anger and bitterness. We must thank God for that and keep coming back to God with that and not running off like it's somehow our right to be healed of these things, because it's not. Christ came to bring the peace that surpasses all understanding, and he has brought it. Bear it within your hearts. Love Christ, breathe Christ, let Christ dwell in your hearts. Amen.
Amen.